So Glenn, thanks for joining us.
Peter, it's a pleasure.
So what's the market for luxury cars like right now?
Right now, it's not the easiest market in the world. Certainly, we've had a good few years, but certainly since mid-2018, we've seen it come off. And that's sort of been replicated in January this year. Although in the last 2 weeks of February, we have seen a change. So our market, in terms of Maserati, we've seen it drop really 20% from 17 to 18, which is a big drop in Australia.
Yeah. But that's off a high base, because you had
That's right.
pretty good time up until then, didn't you?
Look, we can't complain.
Brilliant leadership on your part, wasn't it?
Absolutely, we can't complain. I mean, Maserati, we have increased sort of 600% over 5 years, so we've had significant growth. But in terms of looking at the environment that we're playing in today, it's certainly softer.
Okay, so what explained the good time? Because I'm kind of searching for the link between cars and house prices that a lot of people often say. What explained, apart from your great leadership, and we always give you a tick for that,
Thank you.
was the house price boom in Sydney and Melbourne helpful to your goals and designs?
Absolutely. When we look at the house price movement in Australia and we overlay luxury car sales, you can almost see a correlation where they run almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
You then overlay business conditions and business confidence to that, and you start to get a model that I won't say predicts, but certainly gives you a good indication of where the luxury car market will go. Whether one is the leading indicator or not, we're yet to find out. But when we look at our market as a good indicator, we see house prices and we also see business conditions and confidence.
Okay, did you cheer when you saw in the last 2 weeks of February auction clearance rates actually improved?
I cheered when I saw the auction clearance rates improve, but also when we saw an improvement in business confidence out of the NAB survey.
Yep.
And for us, that's reflected in our daily sales rate. We've seen it increase dramatically, really from Valentine's Day. So the second part of February for us has been far better than the first, and certainly much better than January.
Explain to my viewers what is a typical customer like for your kind of car, Maserati?
Maserati's had a fairly diverse customer base over the last, say, 3 to 4 years. Prior to that, our customer base was male, 49, and they own their own business. Moving into new segments with both Ghibli and Levante, we've seen the customer base broaden enormously. So whether it's a younger audience or an older audience or certainly a more female audience. So our age group has become younger. Our primary demographic now is between 35 and 45. We've seen a much higher uptake from our female database or customer base. So depending on the model, we can be up to 35% female ownership, which is terrific because that's the other 50% of the population. But there is one common theme that everyone, whether they're old, young, it's that they're quite entrepreneurial in spirit. So their entrepreneurial thinking and their leadership is what drives them to a brand like Maserati.
Everyone talks about how retail is changing in so many areas. We know some people are missing out to the online challenges and whatever. Is there a new challenge for your kind of vehicle, or do people always turn up to the showroom before they buy?
Look, the automotive market has changed, certainly in the last 10 years. The days of going from dealership to dealership to dealership to garner information to assist in your decision-making process, those days are gone. The research is done well and truly before someone arrives at a dealership. And so what we have to do is not provide information, but provide an experience that matches their perception of the brand. And part of that is, an environment like you see now, where you have great configuration rooms where you can see, smell, touch, you can configure your vehicle. It's private, it's personalised, there's barista-made coffee. It has to be an experience. And if you can't deliver that, you're going to find it very tough in retail, whether it's at the top end or the bottom end. Okay,
so what is the competitive advantage that you seek to exploit to get more and more customers in?
Certainly for Maserati, we look at our core values. One of them is we're an authentic brand, but we're an Italian brand. So when we say made in Italy, we mean made in Italy. We're not made in other parts of the world. And that comes across in our products. So we have performance and we have sound, which Australians know Maserati pretty well for. But there's other aspects of our brand, for example, craftsmanship. No other brand has something like Zegna silk interior for the seats in their vehicles. No other brand has Pianafiore leather, the best leather money can buy in their products. So we have beautiful craftsmanship, beautiful design, and a lovely sound just on cue.
Yeah. Let's do that question again, Glenn. What are you guys doing to exploit your competitive advantage with your potential customer base?
Well, certainly sound and performance, as you heard, are key to us. And so interactive experiences are so important for Maserati. So to get that performance and sound across, they need to be driven in both real world scenario and also in track environments, so that you can really appreciate what Maserati means when we say performance. And performance to us is just not 0 to 100. Performance to us is being able to come to the corner, brake late because we've got the best brakes in the business, to then turn in with a beautifully balanced car and then accelerate out, hearing that engine note, so that there's no need to look down and see where your RPM is. You can hear where the car is. You're part of the car, you're seating low and you're looking ahead, and that's an experience, and that's what we call performance. That's like being engaged with the vehicle. So track days are important to us, not for the 0 to 100, but for the experience you can garner, but also the lifestyle days. So whether it is beautiful food cooked by Italian chefs, driven in beautiful Maseratis to wonderful locations, that's all part of it. And of course experiencing the Zegna silk interior, the Pianafiore leather interior. There's a whole host of things that we like to do, Peter.
You're certainly in touch with the feminine side, mate, on that answer. And that's part of the market you've grown since you've been in control.
Yes.
How important is the $8 to ultimately sales? Because if the dollar goes down, I guess Maserati's become a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, that's true. We are as much as currency traders as we are anything else. So the Australian dollar movement, and it's a very volatile currency against the euro, so it does go up and down. However, if you as a guide, if the Aussie dollar moved 1 cent, that would affect a Quattroporte by about $6,500. So it's very important to us. Now, we don't increase the price up and down as the currency moves, so that's something that we have to wear.
So looking where you are now in this market, you've had a great period of time, house prices are falling, the economy looks a bit softer than expected. What is your expectation for 2019? And if you think it's going to be more challenging than it has been in the past, what are you going to do about it?
So first of all is to gauge the size of the market, and for us we see the market being about the same size as it was in 2015. Once you gauge that as a base, you can garner what sort of market share you're after. But you have to expect that it's a tough market out there. Not everyone's going to be shall I say, conservative in their estimates. And I think if you added up every manufacturer in Australia and where they thought they could be, and you added those numbers up, you'd probably have a market size of about 2 million cars. The reality is we're a bit over 1 million. So for us, we have to have good tactical actions moving forward. Part of that is a model strategy. So we are now the most accessible we have ever been for Maserati, with the Levante starting at 125 for the 350 plus on-road costs. So we've lowered our entry price and made Maserati a little bit more accessible. At the same time, at the top end, we've actually increased the entry point to some of our top end models. For example, Quattroporte now starts at 225 plus on roads as opposed to 200 odd. So whilst we're stretching the brand somewhat. And then later on in the year, we have some great product initiatives with the Levante GTS and the GTS Trofeo, which puts a twin turbo, 530 horsepower up to 600 horsepower V8 in the front of an SUV. Back to the roots of Maserati, performance and sound.
Yeah. One last question. I've noticed with high performance cars, luxury cars, sometimes people want those cars, but they can't actually get them because you don't actually make enough to supply them. Is that a problem occasionally, that because your marketing works so well, you then can't necessarily deliver when people want the car?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when demand is high, we have a long wait list. And we are in a global world, so if demand takes off in another part of the world, that does affect our level of production. Although that said, Australia does sit as a right-hand drive market, and we're one of the bigger right-hand drive markets. So we do have access and preset access to our allocation generally a number of years before. But I look forward to a time where demand does outstrip supply, because it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, exactly. Glenn, thanks for having a coffee with Switzer.
Salute, Peter.
I love that.